Finally, we'll take a look at both the handout and your Rosenberg text to talk about the section of the Popol Vuh that addresses the question of how human beings first entered the world. From the handout, you'll see part 4 there, Origin of Humanity, First Dawn. And from the Rosenberg, you'll see also the section that's called the Creation. And it's quite interesting because essentially we have to ask the question: who were the first fathers and mothers, and where did they come from? And the Popol Vuh tries to give us this. Take a look at the text, the Rosenberg text, and you'll see here that we have thought about it and planned it. They said, and what we have created is perfect. Right. So the creation begins. The creators say, "Let the void be filled. Let the sea recede, revealing the surface of the earth," etc. We saw that in the earlier material from the previous slide. What you hear is the Creator saying, "Speak, call, cry as each of you can. Call us by name, praise us, and love us." But all this the birds and animals could not do. They could scream, hiss, and cackle, but they could not call their creators by name. And so the creators of the universe have the need, right? Human beings are created by their need to be adored, to be loved, to be praised, to be spoken to by name. Animals couldn't do that for them. So we as people, as a species, fulfill a need of the gods that they had, and that's why we're created. We're not necessarily created in their image, you see. These new creatures will be superior to you and will rule you. It is your destiny that they will tear apart and eat your flesh. Let it be done. Okay, and so they created them. The creators made them. They decided to fashion an obedient and respectful creature who could praise and love them. First, they tried to model him out of a muddy earth, but the material was too soft. He was limp and weak. He could speak, but no mind gave meaning to the words he spoke. Okay. Then they tried wood, right? So they tried mud, then they tried wood. Once they were powerless, these wooden creatures were beset by enemies. Animals, both large and small, attacked them. Sticks and stones, plates and pots attacked them. Dogs they had starved and taunted now tore into their faces with their teeth, desperately fighting for their lives. The wooden creatures tried to climb to the roofs of their houses, but the houses collapsed and tossed them back to the ground. All but a few of these wooden creatures were destroyed. The others survived with mangled faces and jaws, and their descendants became known as monkeys. That's where monkeys come from, evidently. Wooden prototype. It was like Human 2.0, and it was kind of a crummy design. So the ones that actually survived came to look really ugly, and that's how monkeys came about. Let us try to create again creatures who will praise and love us. Let it be done. Let noble creatures live on the surface of the earth. Let us search for the substance we can use to fashion them. They found what? Corn. They ground it up and fashioned their noble creatures from this food. Let it be done. So it came to pass that the first forefathers were created. The creators fashioned their bodies from cornmeal dough. So we're made out of corn. Now, the corn, of course, is a staple of Native American diets and was for the Mayans as well. So it's not unusual that they would associate what basically human beings, their primary dietary intake was, with the bodies that corn essentially nourishes and grows and, in a sort of indirect way is made of, right? You are what you eat. Well, there you go. They made corn drinks from ground yellow and white corn and fed them to their new creatures to give them muscles and flesh and with these strength. Now, what we also get here is the names of the first fathers of the first people. We're going to toggle back and forth over between the Rosenberg text in your handout. These are the names of the first people who were made and modeled. This is the first person, Jaguar Kitse, and now the second, Jaguar Night, and now the third, not right now, and the fourth, Dark Jaguar. Okay, these are the names of the first mother fathers. They were simply made and modeled, it is said. They had no mother and no father. It would appear that they're sort of genderless, or maybe they're hermaphroditic. I don't know. But the first forefathers, these four first fathers or mother fathers, depending on your translation and the context, were different. They were the prototypes, right? They were the great ancestors. Not one, four. And at first, at least, they seemed not to need any sort of spouse or anything like that. Now, what your handout goes on to say is that they were good people, handsome, with looks of the male kind. You see, so they're kind of mannish, but maybe not totally one gender or the other. Thoughts came into existence and they gazed. Their vision came all at once. Perfectly they saw. Perfectly they knew everything under the sky whenever they looked. As they looked, their knowledge became intense. And then they saw everything under the sky perfectly. This is a problem because they have vision. And by the way, we don't, often in language, vision and knowledge become interchangeable. When you say something like, "Oh, I see," you mean I understand, right? Or he sees the situation for what it is. Or when you say something like he's got a lot of foresight or insight, right? We use the word sight to mean cognition or knowledge. Well, maybe that's what's going on here. Maybe it's not just actual literal eyesight, because there seems to be some indication here that it's not just their eyesight, but they know a lot more than mere mortals should, and the gods are actually somewhat threatened by it. So this is what happens. We know everything and we thank you. The creators were no longer pleased. Have we created creatures who are better than we intended? Are they too perfect? They asked each other. Have we made them so knowledgeable and wise that they will be the gods like ourselves? Should we limit their sight so that they will see less and know less? Let it be done. They blew fog into their eyes so they could see only that which was close to them. In this way, the creators destroyed the original knowledge and wisdom that the four first fathers had possessed. Now let us carefully create and form wives for the first fathers. Let their wives come to them while they are asleep, and be there to bring them joy when they awaken. Let it be done. Now, a few different things. Number one, again, this early generation who seems to revel in, maybe even aspire to godlike status, that hubris there, almost a blasphemy-like attitude. The gods are threatened by this. We're going to knock them down a peg, right? They do not need to be doing this. Again, throughout all of ancient mythology, you get this notion of why aren't we gods? Why aren't we better than this? Why are we limited? We seem to be so much above animals in cognition, but here we are, mere mortals. Everything, all the way back to Mesopotamia and the Greeks and the Romans and so on and so forth. Even in the Old Testament, the Tower of Babel, we're going to be up to the sky like God. We're going to be eating the fruit, and we're going to have the same vision and immortality as God in the Garden of Eden. And it turns out to be simply hubris, pride, overreach in a way, and so you get that as well. But look here as well. You've got these male figures. There seem to be four of them for some reason. Now, are these first father, mothers, etc., associated with races, with tribes, maybe with geographical directions, north, south, east, west? I don't know. But there's four of them, and they're male first, or male-ish, and then each of them is given a wife. When? After they fall asleep. Right? Like Adam falls asleep and Eve is created from his rib, and so on and so forth. We then see in the handout, we'll finish up with that, we have understood in everything, great and small, they said, so they blinded them a little bit. They made them a little more nearsighted. What does that do to them? It means that they can't communicate as easily. They can't get along as well. So essentially, by limiting them, they created discord. This is why some people think maybe this is some sort of metaphor for the creation of the different races or different tribes in the New World, in Latin America, whatever, among the indigenous people. We don't know. But one thing's for sure, these four father-mothers, once they are made nearsighted, don't get along, they don't cooperate, they can't communicate with each other as well, and this causes a great deal of strife and discord among the humans, the four different families of humans. And then they're all given wives, and here's what their wives are named. Then their wives and women came into being. Again, the same gods thought of it. It was as if they were asleep when they received them. Truly beautiful women were there with Jaguar Keetse, Jaguar Night, Not Right Now, and Dark Jaguar. By the way, I have a theory that the one father, first father named Not Right Now, was the father of procrastination, because when he got married, his wife said, "Would you take the dog for a walk and take the trash out?" "Not right now." He He was watching the Cowboys game, no doubt. With their women, they were really they really came alive right away. They were happy at heart again because of their wives. And again, this sense of contentment, this sense of happiness and fulfillment because they have a life partner. Red sea turtle is the name of the wife of Jaguar Keetse. Prawn house is the name of the wife of Jaguar Knight. Water hummingbird is the name of the wife of Not Right Now. Macaw house is the name of the wife of Dark Jaguar. These names must have meant something. They must have signified something. They couldn't have simply been random. Okay? House may seem to indicate a family or a lineage. The animals would have had some sort of association somehow to particular qualities, spiritual qualities, personality qualities. We just don't know. The Not Right Now is really interesting because one wonders whether this one might have been associated with time, the future. So these were the names of the wives who became ladies of rank, giving birth to the people of the tribes, small and great. And so you get then the prayer of the future generations, and you can hear that, etc. But what's important to realize is that humans are created at the end, pretty much, of this Popol Vuh creation narrative. They aren't created for their own sake. They aren't created as the apple of these gods' eyes. They're not created as being in the image of the gods. In fact, the gods have to go out of their way to make sure that they're less like gods than what they were originally created. And they're given wives, but we're not told exactly why, just that they thought it was a good idea, but not why. So you can take some wonderful parallels here, and you can draw them between other creation stories, other discussions of the creation of human beings and human existence, the rise of humans on the planet, and so on, and you can make these connections. What's different, what's similar, and why? That's the really interesting question. What is different, what is similar, and why? And the why is the really hard part, but it's the fun part, all right?